You're watching Power Lunch South Africa. We are in Johannesburg. It's now time to talk about the companies that are operating in South Africa's economy. And joining me in studio to talk about Altron Nexus is Kennedy Chinganya, who's the managing director of that division within the Altron Group. Kennedy, it's great to have you in studio. I'm sure as you were walking here, you would have come across the gridlocks from traffic. Yep. But they say also when you have an economy with challenges like that, it's got to be an economy that is offering also, opportunities.
Absolutely.
But you're 1 year in as managing director.
Absolutely.
Let's begin there. Your observations before we talk about where you want to go.
Thank you so much, Godfrey. I think for me, this 1 year has been kind of a roller coaster, but an exciting one. If I look at when I took over in September last year and where we are now and things that have happened, I think in as much as it's been a very turbulent economy, I think there's great opportunities for most of the ICT companies.
Yeah. How big an opportunity would you put it if you were just looking at the South African economy before we spread into the region?
So if I look at my space, I would take typically the critical comms space, which is a critical communication space. Right. I was looking at the numbers a couple of weeks ago, and I'm looking at about $69 million just for South Africa before even go to SADC. And when I was trying to look at what we are doing today compared to that number, I mean, we are not even hitting double digit. And I'm saying this is a massive opportunity which we need to explore.
Yeah, you need to explain critical communications, because when you explained it to me the other time when we were discussing, I was thinking to myself, this is a world I was unaware exists.
Absolutely. It's one of those worlds where people actually do not understand. But if you think of it, the capacity to quickly transmit status and order to people, especially when it's public safety, that part of comms, that's what people miss, and that's what we call critical communication.
How big an industry is that?
That's a massive industry. In South Africa alone, you are talking of 2022, about 69 million. Sure. Last year, it was about 62 million. I'm talking dollars. Sure. And if I look at the projections going up until 2027, we're talking close to 12-13% growth that is going to be in that space. Yeah. So and I'm saying, how much of that can we actually take a share of?
Yeah, 100%. So talk to me about your plans now. You settled, you have seen the business, you have explored the opportunities. Yes. Where are you seeing them?
So I've settled in the role. How many days now? It's a year, just over 2 weeks now in that role. Yeah. And if I sit and look back, I'm saying I've done what I needed to do in the first 1 year. I've been traveling quite a bit in the last few months, and I'm saying...
Where did you go?
I was in Zambia, I was in Botswana, just to see what is happening in that space as well, because what I'm looking forward in my next year now, which has started now, is to say, what more do I need to do, not just limiting myself to South Africa, but across SADC? Yeah. And when I look at what is required, especially from public safety perspective across SADC, that is a need that is required across the continent. But my focus right now is going to be South Africa and most of SADC.
Right. So what you're talking about, actually, step back a little bit. I want to know which products you're taking into the region.
So if I look at what we're taking into the region, there's 2 products that we are going to be taking. So I remember when I met you and we had a casual conversation, I did explain to you that, look, I'm going to go very simple, right? Simplify things. And why am I doing that? Before I even touch on the products. If you look at the ICT market during the COVID period, I think every ICT market has been hit with ICT skills. So I stepped back and said, where is it that we are strong at? And where we are strong at, that's where I said we are going to be focusing on. And those are the products that we need to take to the market. Right. First and foremost, around the broadband network. Okay. What is broadband network? This is pure connectivity that we want to take to the market. Yeah. And our main focus has been around government broadband connectivity. So this is where we connect different government departments, be it hospitals, be it clinics, be it libraries, be it schools, be it community halls. Yeah. How do we give them that connectivity and close that digital gap that has existed for a long time? Yeah. If you think of it, when there was lockdown, how do people get from one place to the other? It was difficult, and this digital communication allows them to communicate, whether it's correction of medication, they know when to correct medication, they can get a script on their phone, they can instruct, book an Uber to bring them, whatever happens. So opening that, and it shouldn't be just for the elite.
Right.
It needs to go to the grassroots, the
Sure.
people that are down in the communities.
Yeah.
That's a very critical element that we are taking out there.
Right.
That's one component.
Yes.
The second part of it for me is what I call software-defined networks. A lot of companies, IT is not their core.
Yes.
We are core people that do that, and we've got proper certifications from our salespeople all the way to what I call the internet highly qualified engineers. And what that does is when you've got a network to connect, you do not need to physically go into a premises and do that.
Yeah.
You can be where you are, be able to deploy a network
Yeah.
from the cloud.
Yeah.
You should be able to give a dashboard to a CTO who says, I want to see what is happening, be it a CIO,
Yeah.
I want to see what is happening in my network, which machines are connected. They can see that.
Yeah.
You free that time that they need to spend on looking at the network, and they can focus on their core.
Yeah.
That's one of those critical elements that we are doing within the enterprise portfolio.
Right.
There's a third component that I would also want to bring out because it's quite key, and this is
Yeah.
around the unified communication. So how do you bring video, how do you bring voice, how
Yeah.
do you bring data, how do you bring presentation
Yeah.
in one and the same thing?
Now
And
you're
for
talking to me.
Now I'm talking to you. How do you
Yes.
bring that together? For me, that's quite critical.
Absolutely.
And that unified communication, you know the traditional PABXs where you've got a receptionist
Yes, yes,
manning a
yes.
reception,
Yes.
and we are saying, so when there was COVID, where was the reception? They were not there, right?
Did you see ours here?
I did see yours outside there. So they were not there. And we are saying, can we start moving that out of that traditional on-prem kind of PABX into
Yeah.
the cloud?
Yeah.
So that you are able to do the same kind of a work,
Yeah.
but not sitting in front of a massive keyboard, transferring calls. They can actually do it from a laptop. As long as they've got internet,
Yeah.
they can do that from their homes.
Yeah, you're reminding me of the days of the telephone operator. You remember those
Exactly,
people
yeah.
that you had to call in order to get your call through? They were hugely important.
Yeah.
You mess them up, they will not put your call through. I want to know if there's a budget for that. While you're thinking about that one,
Yeah.
I want to know, when I looked through the notes that were prepared for you, one of the things we saw was mining and then Altron Nexus. And I was saying to the girls, tell me, what has technology got to do with the mine?
So Godfrey, I spoke around one pillar of the business for
Yes.
Altron Nexus.
Yes,
The
and
second
then you left
pillar
this
for
one.
Altron Nexus is exactly what you are touching on, critical communication. There is communication that you and I are used to, which is pretty much what I would call falls under the broadband component of communication. But when you talk of critical communication, we are talking of two elements there. Within that critical communication, there's one that I call mission critical.
Yeah.
There's the second one, which I call business critical.
Right.
Mission critical is an event. There's a fire.
Now, are you talking about the military? What are you talking about?
It could be. It could be the military. It could be police. It could be defense. It could be a flood.
So you supply those?
Absolutely, absolutely. Like I said earlier on, that capacity to quickly transmit status and order on a situational piece is very, very critical. Every second that goes from human safety perspective becomes very key.
Yeah.
Public safety becomes very key.
Yeah.
And for us, we are saying, if you think of it, Godfrey, when there's confusion happening, everyone wants to use their mobile phone to call.
Yes.
What happens? There's a jam.
Yeah.
The critical comms network bypasses that, and you can dial on that network to be able to communicate.
So that's where the mines come in.
That's where the mines come in. So you talk of public safety within government space or any community, but then you go further and say,
Yeah.
look at the mines. Where they operate, there's no communication in most cases, that is broadband.
Yeah.
And these guys need that critical comms to be able to communicate. They go underground.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
in some cases, when they're down there,
Yeah.
they lose that comms that happens in the broadband.
Yes.
They need that dedicated network where they can be able to communicate, whether it's above ground
Yeah.
or underground,
Yeah.
to maintain that safety for their employees. And that's where the mines come in.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I just want to add up one thing to that. So in the typical days, the public comms used to be what they used to call two-way radios.
Yeah.
I think we've gone beyond that now. It's not just the two-way radios. We now have what we call push to X, meaning you can push to anything. So I can push that command not only to a two-way radio, but I can actually push it to your laptop. I can push it to any smart device. And you'll be able to get that command that has been sent out.
Absolutely.
And that's how critical comms is becoming more and more of a highly linked ICT component.
Yeah.
And you cannot divorce that from ICT.
Yeah, I'm not going to ask you who else you supply, because I can see the possibility here that, you know, those people who work in the dark and go around and snooping and finding information about people, you might also be in contact with them and you don't tell me about them.
Yep.
Before you go, one more question.
Yep.
How much CapEx budget have they given you?
I don't need much of CapEx budget, and
Right.
I'll tell you why.
Tell me.
So critical comms in our space has existed for a very long time. We've been doing this for over 5 decades. It was for me now just going back to basics and say, we've done this for over years.
Yeah.
A lot of public safety infrastructure in this country was built by Altron Nexus. So what do I need? It's not really more on CapEx investment
Right.
from infrastructure perspective.
Yeah.
It's more of the skill.
I see.
How do I retain the skill that I have? How do I create a pipeline for the new skills that needs to come in? And this is one of those technologies that is difficult to find from a university.
Right.
So I've gone back and said, I'll go to the tech and cons. I'll go right to the entry tertiary levels and say,
Yeah.
are you aware?
Are you finding it?
We are. We've already started embarked on this, starting from our branch, Altron Nexus within Cape Town. We are going to be doing this. This is a key thing that I need to focus on in this coming financial year for me,
Yeah.
to start creating this pipeline
Yeah.
for the future skills that we need to retain in this space, because this is a space I really want to expand big.
Absolutely. So I say to those graduates who are amongst the 43% that are said to be thinking of emigrating, where are you going when the opportunities within the African continent?
Absolutely.
Stay home. Support the continent. Kenneth Chinganya, thank you. He is the Managing Director at Altron Nexus. We're going to take a break. On the other side, we are talking about the tourism industry on the African continent from the view of a foreign investor. Stay with us.